Good morning, or for those who are in UK now, should I say good day because it's midday now. From today, we are 1 hour ahead of GMT in UK. India stays at the same time. So India does not change the time in summer or winter. Uh, that is that means we do not have the concept of daylight saving time in India. We haven't adopted to that concept, and that's why we are consistently maintaining one time throughout the year, GMT plus 5.5 hours. But in UK we are changing summer and winter times. So now from today onwards we are GMT plus one, and that's why we are live here at 12, GMT 11, and of course regular time for other people wherever whenever they are watching from. Good. So first of all, very happy Holi. Very happy Holi to everyone. The colorful festival of, you can say, nature. A very good message of burning our ego, sin, and moving towards something positive. So this festival is bringing us very good message, vibrancy, and this is actually the time. You might have seen it has begun from like winter has ended, then one after another festivals are coming which are related to the movement of the sun. Makar Sankranti started movement of sun towards Capricorn, and then Nowruz is again the same thing we recently celebrated, that is equal day, equal night, equinox, and now festival season of Holi, and very soon we are going to celebrate Baisakhi or many other names that we call it in India. That is harvest related festival. The first harvest will be ready by then. Good. So with this again, very happy Holi, colorful Holi. Please celebrate, but enjoy, but keep it safe. I must also mention that there has been some problem on Facebook, and that's why I had to go here and there. Finally, we decided that simultaneously we can go live on YouTube. So this is YouTube, as I don't know whether it's working on Facebook page, but thank you for being here. I think this is our good connection, though still virtual, but food for thought, food for mind, and that's why it is Sunday brunch. My Alexa started. Alexa, stop. That means it is so so many uh, things. That reminds me, do you ever get distracted by unwanted interference in your life? Do you have such Alexas who interfere your routine, or who do pop in when you are working concentratedly, when you are focusing on something, and then you break your concentration, and then something else happens? But my point is, our attention span has reduced. Our attention span has reduced drastically, and that is a known fact, and which is worrying fact for us, isn't it? Now, if you see the ability of millennials, then people say that attention span has gone into seconds. I was reading somewhere which writes that if a person watches a series or film, and if it doesn't hold him or her for initial 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute, then he is going to leave that movie or film series. It means that we have to be we have to be attracted immediately to something, glued to something. And if we are glued to something, then perhaps we don't even know where our time is going. And this is another side effect. You see, people sometimes us are glued to, for example, maybe if we are watching YouTube video one after another, you start watching on NASA's rocket and end up watching what? Cats fight. You start watching something related to science or society and then end up watching some funny videos. But why? Because attention span has lost, and its side effect is our thought process just gets dragged wherever it is directed. Point is that though initially we do not remain focused on something, but if our attention is grabbed, then we even forget for what we were there. This is something we need to address. And I have been thinking of making a schedule. Schedule, I mean, though we all have our own schedule and we keep making like plans for to-do list or something that how can we improve my efficiency, my productivity, that we keep doing. But do I need to make a schedule for my uh, upcoming time in this year or next year or something? When I when the 2020 ended and 2021 started, I say we are planning not only for 1 year, 2021, but we are going to plan for a decade, 2021 to 2030. Can we do a decade long planning? Are there surprises which can affect us from our path, from our goals? Yes, there would be many. We spoke of that change. But then let's start new, because today is Holi. We would be celebrating it. Some people would be doing Holi Dahan, Holika Dahan, and the story, as we all know, is goes like Prahlad was saved, and yeah, and then today is cricket, which you know. So India versus England, third ODI. It's live. India is playing at 83.6 and 14.3 hours. Good. So this thing is, I whether I was updated or distracted. So the point is, can we do a decade long planning? This 1 decade planning, will it be beneficial for us? I think we should begin anew. There will be beginner's advantage. So the beginner has an absolute advantage over experts. And what is that advantage? Because beginner can start anew, start taking the risk. He has no burden of his success, his established status with him. So he doesn't need to worry about that. So the beginner can start with that advantage and take new risks, imbibe new skills, learn new skills, and take on with his journey and become an expert in some time. So that is something I would like us to follow. Maybe 10 years plan. Let's make 10 years. What are the major goals, purpose, and, and a kind of timeline by when we can achieve it. For example, um, mm, I was some time back speaking on midlife crisis, and then midlife crisis is what? Something for men, it is like between 40 to 50 or 35 to 50, when actually the middle of your body comes out. Crisis actually happens there after me. But anyway, so the midlife crisis is something that leads us to think in a new way. Not bad thing, not a if we if we can identify and we can take advantage of that new thinking, then yes, certainly. But this 10 years goal, 10 years broader planning can actually give us a protection against many distractions, many distractions. And therefore, I would rather suggest that we may do such 10 years planning. I was to have a guest with us today. He has not been able to join, but I would still say something about the guest. He was to be our friend Sanjay Suriji, a famous journalist who has been very active, and he is a political editor of CNN, IBN, and he is based in London for quite long now. He has come out with many books, and recently, just recently, his book Gandhian Affairs in Indian Cinema. So he is discussing about how the Indian cinema is, how the Indian cinema is affected, impacted, influenced by the Gandhian thoughts, and how the cinema has not been able to come out of that constantly, or has been remain under that influence since Gandhian influence has come on us. So this book has won some recently a national award in India related to cinema, and that's why I thought it would be good if we could invite him and speak to him. And something technical again, and then novice. After all, we are novice. So he is not here, but I wanted to give this message. So maybe this is one book we can, or you can read if you are interested in cinema, if you are interested specifically in Bollywood. But one thing is clear, Bollywood has a lot of messages to give to us, right? There are many movies who can teach us a lot. Yesterday night, I was watching a movie, Into the Wild. Into the Wild is a Hollywood movie where a person goes solo to Alaska, stays there alone, and he experiences the nature. Do you remember I spoke of sitting in Berkeley Square with a coffee in my hand, watching a tree, the trunk getting divided into two branches into four, six, eight, and then uh, leaves or no leaves at some in some of the trees. So that kind of thing. I mean, nature always attracts everyone. There is no doubt. Hardly there is someone who does not get refreshed with oxygen, fresh air. So this nature helps. That was slightly extreme step that an individual has taken, but that was a message. But even if one does not take such extreme decisions of going into wild, one can certainly think of something like connecting to nature, spending some time with nature. I always lack that possibility, or I would say the priority, setting up a priority of spending enough time out of my for physical activities, let's say. So most of the time I miss that thing. Do you do that? Are you victim of the same thing? Is physical activity or physical outing part of your regular routine? Luckily, good thing is when I walk to office and come back, it is 1 hour of walk or maybe 1 hour 10 minutes of walk every day, both sides. So that is good enough physical activity, at least giving me good exercise. And sometimes when I go to Hyde Park or nearby somewhere, that is good enough. But otherwise, are we planning good physical activities? If not, then Holi today evening, if you are uh, doing that holy ceremony, perhaps that would be good. You can decide that, meet people, and from where can I get the book? Maybe online in India. You can certainly it is available now. You can just buy that. And uh, oh, Sanjay ji is here. I think so. Good morning, Sanjay ji.
Hello, Rohitji. Thank you very much. I was listening to your interesting thoughts, but I was connected on YouTube, and which means that
You were
I was
just
in the wrong place as
audience.
always.
You were audience at that time. But good that you have come and joined. What has become is like generally I speak for around 15 minutes on my Sunday brunch, and you have exactly joined after the 15 minutes. So we are now in discussion mode after the Sunday, my monologue, I would say. Good to have you here. I would just again put this book on the screen, this Gandhian affair. Uh, would you like to say something about this book to us?
Yes, very briefly, I know you were talking about attention spans being limited. I am entirely respectful of that. And, people who've written a book think they will go on, and everybody's waiting to hear every word on that. So I'll be very, very brief, just in a nutshell, a few headlines, a few nuggets about the book. Um, I also note that at the start you managed to get Alexa to keep quiet. आजकल किसी और पे तो हमारी दादागिरी चलती नहीं, Alexa पे बेचारी पे चल जाती है. तो इसी तरह अगर आपने जब मुझे चुप कराया तो मैं भी चुप कर जाऊंगा. तो like poor Alexa. So very briefly, the starting point of this book is that if you look at the old cinema, 50s 60s cinema, uh, एक क्वालिटी है. लोग कहते हैं भैया आपने एक पिक्चर देख ली तो सब देख ली, वो वही स्टोरी होती है, वही बातें होती हैं, वी कीप गोइंग बैक टू इट. सो द what is that point of repetition? Is it कि they are all the same love stories? कि boy meets girl and then they run into trouble, then they overcome the trouble, they sing a few songs, and past all these troubles, a little from villain, a little from circumstances, they get together and live happily ever after. क्या ये formula है? We used to speak of them as these as formula films. So is this the formula? No, I would suggest that this is a formula for all love stories everywhere.
I
It's not
agree.
just
I agree. I'll just
it,
rather intervene and say that I agree with you because see, everything is repetition. I keep telling people the same sun comes in the morning and goes back in the west and sets there and again repeats. So everything is repetition. There are only 7 notes of the music we keep creating from there. The same storyline, beginning, crisis, and resolution kind of plot structure. Certainly, and then love story has actually taken a large space in Indian cinema. And that's why many a times when I speak to my interlocutors in whichever country I'm traveling to, even including the Bollywoods and diplomats and other people, they know two things. And I must congratulate you for you choosing the title. Wherever I have gone, most of the people know Gandhi and Bollywood. These two have done a tremendous service to India. Believe me, they have spread the soft power of India like anything. So Gandhian affair, choosing for Bollywood, it's certainly an interesting way of putting it. But why did you choose that title, Gandhian affair?
yes, because I was suggesting that the classic love story is the classic love story everywhere, and that is not what distinguishes this cinema. Because then this is true of all love stories, except of course there are very many more songs in these films than you have songs in world cinema. In world cinema, you have the odd musical. In
Hmm.
Bollywood, you have the odd film that is not a musical. But it is not this. It is certain values that I would suggest are associated with Gandhi that are built into the character of the hero. In fact, there are two values. One is the hero always is confronted with temptations of wealth, and he must turn away from these. In that,
Hmm.
it is very, very Gandhian. This retreat and this spurning of wealth, and to embrace poverty. Either the hero is into poverty to begin with, or if he's born into a rich family, as he sometimes is, then he must make he must surrender that wealth, give up that wealth. The second is that he must confront sexual possibilities and turn away from them. The hero does adopt the path of celibacy, and this happens in every film. And the essence of heroism lies in this double retreat from these two temptations, that were in the popular mind always associated with Gandhi. And of this, you get evidence in the cinema itself through actual appearance of Gandhi. So many times when the hero has to make a sacrifice, in the background, you will have portraits of Gandhi. I could, I don't know if it will show up very briefly. I can try and show some of
Hmm.
these images, and I don't know if this can, uh, here. Let me
Hmm.
see.
We can see, yes.
You see, these are images of Gandhi here,
Hmm.
in various films, uh,
Hmm.
from Mother India, from others. Uh, so this the cinema itself shows us these images. Now, the one distinctive feature is song. Now, the song is not just a cultural thing that we, of course, love songs, and so these films have songs. The films make the songs possible. There's something more fundamental that the song is doing. These Gandhian values come in cinema that is, after all, love stories. In a love story, love must happen, love must find expression. And the love finds expression in the song, the desire finds expression in the song, so that every film has two directions to it. One, at the level of story, the hero sacrifices in story but desires in song.
Hmm.
This is what the song does. And this is why the story will go the way of the hero, surrendering, sacrificing, giving up temptations, giving up. This is a heroism of surrender, not of
Hmm.
acquisition, not of conquest. It is the heroism of giving up, the strength that lies and the moral quality that lies in giving up rather than acquiring. But he is certainly a lover, and that love
Hmm.
and that desire finds expression in these songs, and this is what we have right through this cinema. The little footnote, and I'll say this and I'll stop here, is that while this is continuing and it continues into the 70s, you have films like Zanjeer, and you have portraits of Gandhi in the police officer's office. In Diwar, he begins to take Amitabh Bachchan hero takes the fight against the exploiters in a canteen. In that canteen, you will see images of Gandhi in the background. In Sholay, you have to have a discussion on non-violence in the public square before you can take the fight back to Gandhi. So this continues right unto the 90s, and that is when cinema begins to give up Gandhi. That's when the Shah Rukh Khan kind of film, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, it is okay now for the hero to be wealthy, and the hero is always wealthy now.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
the And not coincidentally, this comes at a time of Manmohan Singh's reforms, when the dominant thinking in the Indian mind is not the dominant thinking of Gandhi, but that of Manmohan Singh. The reforms, the liberalization. The liberalization did not make everybody as wealthy as the Shah Rukh Khan hero or the Salman Khan hero, but it was the thinking that changed it, that it was okay and, in fact, desirable to be wealthy. You didn't have to be poor to be heroic. And so this is what changes then. And further on from that, the dominance of the family value, a binding family value as the heroic code for the hero and others to adopt. And then, of course,
I would
in
say
very
here,
recent, sorry.
yeah, when you said this, about being rich, I say that initially, or maybe mid 60s, 70s, our cinema used to be Ma, Garibi, and Asu. So you see a lot of story pivotal around Ma, and Garibi and Asu, like Diwar and these movies had a lot of depiction of that, and then too kind of saying that we can live with pride in that. But as you said, I mean, there is Lakshmi has always been worshipped in India, and then it's in our culture. So nothing wrong in certainly desiring wealth and worshipping wealth and kind of using that wealth for everyone's benefit, like you have used it in by giving us a book and making us enjoy the cinema from different angle, isn't it? But you also said about love and sex and violence, but it sells everywhere, doesn't it? So are you actually pointing out the absence of that or hidden presence of that?
Well, interestingly, it is both. This is not a cinema where sex has been conservatively erased from the screen. It is
Mm,
always there, but it is always there as a temptation
mm,
for the hero to overcome, and in overcoming that temptation, to then establish his heroism through conquest of that temptation. So in that sense, it's an interesting question from you. Is it absent, or is it present? It is present as a temptation, but it is absent as the doing, by way of doing. uh, so it comes as an offer that he must turn down, and
mm,
and when he turns down, then in the Gandhian morality mold, he comes to us as the hero. There is, of course, a split between one's instincts and the ideal. Of course, the male instinct towards acquisition of sex and wealth never goes away, and the audience, the males in the audience, is certainly, I think it's a safe guess that they were chasing these two most of their time. But when it comes to cinema, it is an ideal that is presented, an ideal that audiences, of course, fell short from, but that Gandhian ideal continued as an overhang. And of course, you're entirely
mm,
right about mothers. I think there are
mm.
more mothers in Indian cinema than in the rest of the world cinema put together.
True, true, true. I agree. I agree. And overall, I mean, in our lives, we have seen a lot of Gandhian influence. Even today, you are seeing that. And in a way, I feel that we are lucky to have Gandhi. So Gandhi has kind of saved bloodshed in the whole world. Whenever there were like freedom movements and many other such movements, Gandhi has kind of been inspiration to save people from taking up arms and given them a new way. And similarly, the like celibacy and control, self-control and values. This is something Gandhi has given to us, and I think I personally revere that. I personally like that, and I personally enjoy Bollywood as well as Hollywood cinemas a lot. I used to say sometimes, I mean, that sometimes movie becomes meditation for me. And you know why? Because when you go to movie, I mostly prefer to go to cinemas. Unfortunately, they are closed now, but I prefer to go to cinemas, whether I am in India, whether I am in UK, or somewhere else. Even in Iran, when I was posted there, I used to go for Farsi cinema, and then we used to enjoy it. So I have seen cinemas in Telugu, Tamil, wherever, but better I go in cinema and sit there because it gives me like 2 hours, 2.5 hours me time with my wife or with my friends, with whoever I am. But then that is the time when I am more on myself, transported by that imagination of the movies and stories, and I really like that kind of thing. I feel that that is you going with your own thought process, your imagination, though guided meditation, but it's a kind of meditation. And you have been working on this for years now, along with political affairs and many other issues. I really feel that your book will be huge success. You have already got the national award. Would you like to quickly say about that award, and then we can close?
Well, it's nice to get it. I have got it, of course. It's quite an honor, but I had no idea it was happening. Um, uh, I was informed only by a colleague who was attending the event that, well, this has happened. I didn't even know it was happening. That's how ignorant we journalists are. And it was also a little pleasing footnote to hear that there was no discussion and that the jury was unanimously agreed on this, and it was a unanimous decision. But before I say any more, I'll start patting myself on the back for everyone to see, which I don't want to do. I thank you so much, Mr. Vazwana, for the talk this morning and for inviting me to it.
No, thank you very much for coming, and we are so happy to uh, have you won the award, and we look forward to reading your book and seeing the cinema from that angle. Thank you. And again, very happy Holi to everyone. We had a new format today. I had a guest. First time we are doing it. It's a small group, Mr. Suri. It's just like few friends we meet regularly. Many other watch later. But then this is not a exact media platform. This is a personal group. So, but then they will be really interested to know more about your book and cinema. Thank you for being here, and happy Holi to everyone again. Bye bye.
Thank you and happy Holi to everyone.